Hey YouTube. So I'm filming a video in the dark, and this is a video about the Jinn. So I figured it was kind of fitting. Look at me, guys. I'm a Jinn. So anyway, I was talking to a brother who watched the interview that I did with Brother Waleed, and he wanted to know more about my Jinn encounter. So I figured I would go ahead and just tell that story in a little more detail here, which basically it all boils down to I had a fascination with, like I said, Hermeticism. It wasn't even so much Hermeticism, really, honestly. I just loved the way these like circles of Solomon things looked, right? And I was really good at drawing them and making them, new ones that nobody had ever seen before, because I realized they all are pretty formulaic. What happened was I was sitting in my room, and I had the lights off. I had a candle burning, and I'm sitting at my desk. It's a wooden desk, and I have basically a tile. It's like a large, probably about a 14 by 14 inch tile or something like that. And I had drawn on it with a Sharpie this, array. It was like a, picture like, Full Metal Alchemist. It's got a ton of circles, an outer ring with text on it, and then the text is all in Hebrew. I wrote all this Hebrew stuff on it. It was like names of God, like Adonai, all that stuff. I can't even remember exactly because this was so long ago, but I wrote these characters on there, and then it's got like, a big triangle, and then there's another circle on inside of that, and then it's got kind of like a Star of David thing inside of that. So I'm sitting there, and I don't even remember what I was saying, because it's kind of like I was just kind of drawing off of like how these manuscripts, or not manuscripts, I'm sorry, just textbooks of like ceremonial magic were talking about kind of doing an invocation or whatever. And what I remember was, so I'm sitting there, right? I'm looking at this tile with this little circle thing on it, and I'm sitting there. There's a couple candles. I think I had like 2 candles, and in front of me on the desk, on the wall in front of the desk, I have this skull. I still have this skull. I think it's called a black buck or something like that. It's a type of it's like a mountain goat or like a deer with spiral antlers, pretty much. Yeah, it's got spiral antlers on it. Anyway, what happened was, I'm sitting there, I'm looking at this plate, I'm saying something, and it's in the dark, and I feel like this. It's sort of like if somebody kind of puts their finger underneath your chin and then makes you look up, right? So this is what it felt like. It felt like somebody was putting their finger underneath my chin, making me kind of look up a little, and then it's like I'm looking up. I'm slowly. It's like wasn't even thinking of doing this. It was like it seemed like kind of against my will a little bit, but I'm looking up, and all of a sudden the whole wall, the entire wall that this skull was on, it was like the skull. It was just like it came towards me. Like the whole wall seemed to just kind of move like at me, and it was so fucking terrifying. I mean, I can't even explain to you how fucking scary it was, because I'm in my room in the dark when this happened. Let's see if I can get into a little more light here. Here we go. Yeah, so it's like here I am looking down. And then here's the whole wall. It's just like, it's like, whoa, holy shit! I jumped back. I got up. I was like, oh fuck no, dude! And I started yelling at this thing. I was like, get the fuck out of here! Fuck you, dude! And yeah. So that was basically my Jinn experience that I had, that scared me away from anything having to do with Kabbalah or Hermeticism or magic, ceremonial magic, or anything even close. This thing basically just kind of showed me that it was there, and it just took the form of the skull, basically, because the skull was just right there. But the thing is, right, I was telling this other guy this, he starts bringing up these things about cloaked figures and stuff like that. He had a story he told me, but what was bizarre is, like, I remembered after the fact, because I used to draw a lot. In school, I used to draw this figure, and it was just a black cloaked figure, and it had that same skull thing as like a mask. And he actually became like the main bad guy in my comic book thing that I was working on for a long time. And so he oh shit. Anyway, that's the first part of the story. Okay, so that's that story. Then, okay, so I was talking to this guy. I've been talking to people. The Jinn thing keeps coming up a lot. Even me and Brother Walid were having some discussions about it because, you know, the idea is we're not supposed to be able to see the Jinn, right? But the thing is, I think that this is supposed to be basically under normal conditions. Under normal conditions, you know, you're not supposed to be able to see a Jinn. But if you're toying around with anything like shirk, or, you know, anything having to do with like black magic or anything, you're asking for it. And the thing is, it's like everybody needs to remember that, because this Jinn topic is it's you know, it's fascinating, right? But you know, really, like when I was talking to this guy earlier, basically everybody needs to remember that, like, Jinn or shayateen or whatever, they basically operate on consent, right? So they can't, you know, like, for example, the Quran is telling us that they have no power over the believers, right? So, you know, we all kind of need to keep that in mind, because if you're having any kind of encounters with the Jinn, you need to seriously examine what's going on in your life, because they really only operate on consent. However, what a lot of people don't realize is that shirk is consent to a Jinn. This explains a lot for me, because for example, you know, just look at all of these, you know, Brother Igor pointed out in a couple of his videos about these people who are at the alleged, I think it's the house of the prophet or something like that, and they get, you know, zapped with spiritual electricity and stuff like that. And even, you know, he says the same thing. It's like just the amount of shirk there is like probably enough to make things happen, right? Or just it invites Jinn. And I think that this is a real thing. So when, for example, and then Brother Walid was bringing up in some of his videos as well about how there are, you know, certain churches where people seem to basically become possessed by Jinn in the name of Jesus. And I think that is a result of the shirk, because that, I think it basically counts as consent for them. So, yeah, if you are experiencing any kind of Jinn encounters in your life, you definitely need to be examining what you're doing, and like examine your relationship with God, and like really make sure that you're not inadvertently engaging in any kind of shirk, because that will definitely open up the door. That's the first like side note I wanted to add, right? But beyond that, there are other types of, there's other types of shirk besides just, calling on Jesus or whatever. Like, for example, because this brother, we were talking, and he asked me, he said, do you think, like, concerts are shirk? And I said, no, but that's just as when I'm saying no, I'm saying, like, is just a concert shirk? No. But anytime that you are basically putting anybody on the same level as God, then you're obviously committing shirk. So, like, there are obviously tons of bands that do this, that are like, that's their whole thing. Like, thing about Ghost that really gave fucking that one band, Ghost, they do that shit all the time. The guy shows up there, like, all like the Pope, and like, he's probably got all these, like, people basically, think about it, rock stars have been collecting worship for a long time, you know what I mean? Like, that's been a thing forever. So in those cases, I would say yes, but it's like, really, it's only shirk if you are actually, like, basically engaging in it. If you are, you know what I mean? Like, it's consent. So it's like, you have to be, I think, anyway, you have to be participating for that to affect you. But there's other things too, like, for example, we were talking about how there's a certain degree of shirk with women, because some people have a tendency to sort of, like, worship women, right? Like, some people literally worship women because, like, they're like pagans, and they worship a goddess, and they think, like, pretty much every woman is a goddess, right? And or sometimes it's more sexual, like, they just literally, like, worship pussy, right? And that is totally shirk, and it totally invites encounters with the jinn, like, totally. So these are just things I wanted to touch on because people are interested in these things because, like, I don't know, it's mysterious, or it's kind of exciting, or it has to do with the unseen or whatever. But really, the main thing is don't play. Number one, don't play with black magic. And basically any kind of magic is black magic. It doesn't matter how white or green it seems. Obviously, overt black magic, like, is something to stay far away from. And obviously, you should avoid people. You have a sense for this, is the thing. Like, you're built with a sense for, like, danger, and that includes spiritual danger. Some people deaden that sense, or they just ignore it, or they tell themselves it's not real, or they burn it out. They burn out their sense for spiritual danger. But we all actually have that sense already. So basically, the main thing is like, yeah, don't engage in black magic, but, like, really, really be cautious for any type of shirk, like, even inadvertent shirk, like definitely, like, basically, like, giving anything the kind of, like, reverence and awe and, like, respect, or, whatever, anything that's due for God, you know what I mean? And even this guy brought it up, that includes a government, right? If you think about, let's just say the nuclear bomb hoax, which is just even more unbelievable than the Earth being flat to some people, I've noticed recently. It's like, I can talk about the Earth being flat, and some people are kind of like, oh, most people that are flat Earth pilled already are aware about the nukes thing. But when you're talking to people that are just kind of like, oh, whatever, and you're like, well, I know you don't believe the Earth is flat, but, we can agree that, like, nobody knows, right? Oh, yeah, sure. But the nukes are fake. Oh, are you fucking insane? So, that is actually a type of shirk, because really that type of fear, okay, like let's just say, only God, basically, only God is capable of that type of like massive destruction, right? And so these people saying, oh no, we have that power and you should fear us. You should fear us for the... I used to, when I was a kid, this was a big deal for me. I was really scared of that stuff because I watched Terminator and shit. But, these people are basically telling you to like fear them because they can destroy everything in an instant. Well, that is a type of reverence that is only God is deserving of that type of reverence. And it's really not fear that, you know what I mean? The fear thing is like, that's really not what it's about at all. Like, really God is just saying like God telling you this is really him reminding you of like, yeah, who else can do that? Who else can create the world? Who else can destroy the world? So that counts. And so this has to do with all of the current events and stuff that's going on these days. It's like giving that fear, literally giving that fear to the government or like whoever. That is shirk, and it will actually invite, let's just say, Jinn into your life. So you don't want to do that. That's the main thing. There's really not much else I wanted to touch on besides just this idea that, jinns are totally real. They're not people, obviously. And, it's true that if a jinn can't get to you, they will try to do it through somebody close to you. But even that is still consent-based. Even that is consent-based. Because you still choose to put up with that person. This is something I've had to deal with a whole lot. Where, sometimes when somebody is, like, clearly just possessed, literally, like, possessed by jinn. Like, it's a real thing, you know what I mean? You just have to, tell them to fuck off, pretty much. And if you don't, then it's kind of on you, or you're being merciful to them, and it's still on you, but... you don't want that in your life, so... I hope everybody's doing good, and... so long. My wife had something she wanted to share.
Well, okay, so I was raised with weird pagan Wiccan parents, and they taught me to do what they considered to be white or protective magic from a young age. And when I got to do these things on my own, I realized now that I was having that spiritual danger response, like he was just talking about, and it was almost because this is what I was told to do. It seemed like a confirmation. It seemed like because I was sensing that it was working. It was the right thing to do. That's all.
So you're saying that you had the...
I guess I misinterpreted that response as something positive.
You felt the shock of of danger, but then you thought that meant it was working.
Yeah, because that's what my parents encouraged me to do. That was the right thing. So I was feeling this way. It must have been right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And you guys totally experienced Jinn apparitions in your houses and stuff, didn't you?
Oh yeah, pretty much. We moved around for a little bit, but pretty much every house we lived in we considered to be haunted, new or old.
Yeah.
And, to the point where my parents would tell me that they were being messed with, personally, and, seeing things even in some cases. So.
And your dad is, totally a big-time mushrik.
I'd say so, yeah.
So that's something to think about, guys, right? Now, another thing I'll throw on here at the end of the video is that because, Now, the thing I mentioned with the thing on the wall, the skull or whatever, that happened. Like, that was the end of it. That was me being like, all right, I'm fucking done, right? But before that, I took a picture somewhere. It used to be on my Zanga. That's how old I am. I had a Zanga. And I did one of these things because my floor was tile in my room. It was like a linoleum tile type of thing. So I actually did one of these things in my room, like, huge. Like, I did a humongous one on the floor. And I placed, and it was like, it's just so funny how, like, this all happened because of Full Metal Alchemist. And then, like, I just thought these things are cool. So, like, it was almost like it was in the show where they, like, do this thing. They draw this big circle, because the circle I drew, it's actually kind of like the one in the show, but it's, like, backwards. It's, like, upside down or inverted. It's different. What happened was, I made the circle, and I mean, it was like fucking 5 feet wide or something. It was huge. And I took pictures of it. I took pictures of it and put them on the internet because I just thought it was cool. But in those pictures, there was like all kinds of fucking orbs. I forgot about this. There was, like back in the old days, that was like a big deal. Was like people with the orbs that they would find in these pictures, right? Yeah, I did that. I did it all huge, and there was so many pictures. There were so many orbs surrounding this thing, so many of them. And to me at the time, because I just didn't know better, right? To me at the time, I was just like, I guess you could call it like, this was like a proof of the unseen to me. I was like, oh wow, what the fuck? But yeah, so this is something that, like, I left that thing on my floor for a while, because I basically drew it with like a black crayon. So it did eventually, I eventually cleaned it off, but so okay. Now that's one thing I wanted to add. The second thing was, there was several times throughout this house that I lived at, where now me, you know how it is when you're in your house at night. Sometimes you feel like, oh, it's creepy, whatever. Because my house was pretty big. I mean, there was quite a few of us living in there, but all in all, it was pretty big. So, the thing is, I asked my friends one time, I said, have you guys ever seen shadow people? And they were like, the only place I've ever seen a shadow person is at your house. And a couple of different people told me that. Wow, I look so fucking, this shit looks so creepy. It looks fucking spooky. Oh, this spooky Jinn story time with Manji, with Imam Manji. So, anyway, my friends were telling me, multiple people on different occasions, said, yeah, dude, the only place I've ever seen a shadow person is at your house. And after a few people told me that, I finally, like, I never saw anything like that in my house. Oh, actually, here's what they said. They said, well, I always see him at your house, but it's never when you're there. I never see him when you're there. Right? So, so anyway, one day I was walking. It's hard to explain the layout of this house, but like basically, there's a big window in the front. There's a door underneath. There's like, the front of the house is anyway. There's, right as you walk in the front door, you're basically like in front of the stairwell. It's like the stairwell is right in front of you, sideways, right? So then you would walk to the right and then go up the stairs to the left. And then there's like a, like kind of a open hallway thing with like a, whatever. Anyway, I'm up there and I'm looking over the ledge down, and I actually saw, for the first time in my house, I saw like, it looked like if you've ever played Halo, or seen Predator, but it's more like Halo, because the Predator one was a little different, you know, it's 80s technology trying to depict this, but in Halo, when you have active camouflage on, and it sort of looks like the person's made out of glass, like super, super clear glass, you know? That's what it looked like. I saw this thing move. It was a humanoid shape, and it was just a distortion in the air. Right? It's just like, whoa. And it didn't make any noise. It walked away from me. Sorry, it was like already like, it was actually like way down the, you know what I mean? It's like I'm upstairs and I'm looking downstairs and I see it. And I was like, whoa. And then I even told my friend who was there, I was like, yeah, I just saw one of those things. And I think he even said it, that guy who was there, he was like, yeah, he like brought it up again. But anyway, the thing is right, like, basically, jinns are not supposed to be visible under normal circumstances. But if you're playing around with shirk, and you're playing around with black magic, and like, basically like opening fucking portals and shit, it's like, when you're a kid, or you like don't know any better, it sounds fucking cool, man. Or if you're like edgy, you know. And like I said, I was never ever a Satanist or anything like that. If anything, I was still a Christian. I was just fascinated by, you know, things that were hidden, right? So even after this, you know, after I was, you know, presumably opening these fucking portals into the Jinn world or whatever, and letting these things just kind of roam around in my house, you know, they still didn't mess with me. Except for when I was literally there doing fucking like black magic bullshit. I didn't even know it was black magic. I literally thought I was doing something cool. But yeah, it turned out to be bad, because if it wasn't, why in the fuck? I mean, it was fucking scary, you guys. Like, I'm telling you, the fear of like, and it was some shit out of a movie, like straight up, like the entire wall. Well, oh, I forgot I left you out. The entire wall came out like, wow, and it was fucking, dude, it was terrifying. So that's how that went. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Stay away from jinns. Oh yeah, that's another one. Drugs are bad. Drugs are shirk, especially psychedelics are shirk, because basically, as you've noticed, a lot of people, it's like, why do you have to take mushrooms to see God? Oh, I took DMT, I saw God. I took DMT and I saw these machine elves. Like, what do you think a fucking machine elf is, dude? That sounds pretty jinny. Sounds pretty jinny to me. But yeah, I would say in the world of psychedelics, especially, there's a lot of shirk. And that's actually why, okay, people who go crazy and lose their minds doing meth and stuff, obviously they invite demons and shit. But actually, I would say people that do psychedelics regularly encounter jinns like way more, because of the shirk involved. Because it actually, and people already know what I'm talking about. Like, you already probably have seen this, where it's like, yeah, there's this weird kind of like religious culty thing that just happens around psychedelics, because it's sort of like you're tapping into the unseen, you're touching this other, you're like putting your hand on the veil, and there's like shit on the other side. There's like somebody touching your hand on the other side, and you're like, whoa, must be God. So yeah, there's a lot of shirk involved in the use of psychedelics. So I would tell everybody to just stay away. I mean, obviously, don't do drugs at all, but you know, some people tend to think that psychedelics are a little more innocent. It's not the case. They might be a little bit less harmful to your body, but they do harm your mind, and they definitely wreck your spiritual health. And oftentimes people aren't even aware that that's going on. So yeah, that's the main message. I hope you enjoyed this spooky edition. Spooky edition into the Jinn world.